Hello, this is lesson 13 on starting motion graphics with Blender. Now we are going to start the third example. The main feature we'll look at this time is particle. Literally, it's about simulations or play with tiny particles. It's a feature that can be applied to many effects like simulating liquids and such, even with the same particle. Depending on the setting box, the direction can be a slow stall. First, we are going to create a grass field with particle for this example. Let's start with how to handle the particle system. There's something basic I think I should tell you. First, turn on Blender like this screen and delete everything. I'll create a UV sphere for you and then apply the particle system here. If you look here in the properties window, you'll find these branching icons. Press the plus button like this, and the particle system will be applied from here. When you press play, just like this, you can see the particles falling down. Alright, if you go to the properties window here, you'll find the emission tab like this. First, let's take a look at this number. This number represents the start frame and end frame here. Think of it as the number of particles generated between frame 1 and frame 200. So here we are, without overdoing the values. If you raise it more, like this, more particles than before. You can see it falling. And conversely, if you input less, like this from 1 by the 8 framework, then particles will fall. Then now, with these two, you'll understand on your own. If you set this to 50 frames, now for 50 frames, 10 items, you can see the vertical falling. Then to the frame started, the point at which this particle is generated, you'll be able to explain freely now. If you set it from 100 to 200 like this, at first it was nothing. From frame 100, this is how the particles fall. You can check, and below here, this lifetime. It's how long the particle stays once it's created. Think of it as a setting value. Can you say that? From frame 1 to frame 200, 5,000 particles are generated. These particles, if it has a lifespan of 15 frames, particles like these disappear after 15 frames. You can see it no longer falls further, but disappears. Then now, the lifetime randomness below In this lifetime, we will have a degree of randomness with plus or minus. Yes, if you look at it this way, you can see that particles disappearing a bit more are more irregular. Yes, and next, to explain about this emit from. This is about the location where particles are generated. It's a setup. Here, phased usually has a check by default. This is literally means particles originate from the phase. This is to be seen as a vertex. If you configure it like this, you can see it starts from the vertex. So subdivide this cube like this. Let's increase the particles a bit more than, yes, like this. You can see it is generated from the vertex and falls. And this part is about caching. Now this particle, when applying a physical simulation, when that simulation becomes heavier, you can no longer check it in real time. So press bake at this time about that simulation. Create a bake for it to make it lighter. It's a system that helps you to work in new ways. But this time, we won't be using it in particle for physical simulation. So let's skip this for now. And velocity is about this particle in general. Speed. Setting the speed at which this particle pops out. Consider it as a setting. And we'll gradually learn more about physics. First off, over here, the particles we see, they're essentially invisible in the render view because they are not actually existing polygons. These particles, in fact, to appear as polygons, like this. After that, create the object that will become particle. Here in the render window, render eCell, I will change it into an object. Then, by clicking the eyedropper in the created instance object here, just point it like this. Yes, like this. You can see that so it becomes particles are generating meshes. and then go back up via emit from... I'll convert this back into a face for you. And the children here. Right now, we are cloning these particles by using them as a parent. Yes, like this. Particle tree. Like this one by one. 10 copies are made and attached in creation. You can see the result. And if you press the interpolated next to simple, yes, and then filter. This field weight. This applies to various particles. This is the window that determines the phi for various actions. Electrophono. Currently, in this particle system, gravity is applied, so you can see them falling down. At this point, velocity, lower it. You can set it to be less resistant to gravity. First, in the field rate, the gravity, remove the chain, press Ctrl A, will create a vortex within the force field. Here is the post field, the one we created. Now for the particle, you can see it as an applicable effect. Create the previously applied vortex. Try playing it like this. You'll notice a slight change in the movement of the particle. You can check and also in this post field object. Like this, freely. It's customizable. These kinds of hollows by touching it directly. When something moves, some result will be derived. Let's see this once. You'll learn by trying it out yourself. I think that would be good. Then, moving on. Create the force field again, and this time, not the emitter, but the one next to it. Let's apply the hair. Unlike the emitter here, the hair does not need to be assigned to any object. I'll add a light. Yes, like this. Even if it's not assigned to any object, hair follicle it's displayed in the viewport like this. We'll learn about the detailed functions of hair particles next time when we make glass field. Alright, first of all now we'll install an add-on to use in the next lecture. It's about two plugins, Landscape and Blender Kit. The typical way to install plugins is click Edit here, then Preferences. In the Preferences, click on this standalone add-on window, and then first the Landscape plugin is a built-in plugin in Blender. It comes installed by default. Yes, if you search in English by typing landscape, usually in a non-checked state, you will see such an add-on pop-up. Then activate the add-on when you press Shift in the messy window. An object called landscape appears at the bottom. It would be good to press landscape at this moment. Yes, like this. An object shaped like a mountain. It gets created. And this object is something like this. The shape can be freely adjusted by tweaking various values. It seems you could also create fun terrains. Blender Cat is an external plugin. If you type Blender Kit in the search bar, a site like this pops up. Download the Blender quiz. Here, how to install the Blender kit. There's also a video. Please refer to this. You can install it. Once you've installed it, a window called the Blender kit appears on the sidebar like this. Now from here, you can find many assets. No need to rummage through other sites. You can go straight into Blender. You can import like this. And not just the models, like these materials, very easily. Being able to call it like this is a plugin that can greatly reduce your workload or to focus more on motion from now on rather than modeling by ourselves. In this way, to bring in assets, let's proceed with the lecture. We briefly went over the particle system and how to install add-ons. Starting from the next lecture, we will get into it more seriously. Let's take some time to create a terrain and now generate grass with the particle system on it. Yes, thank you.